they returned to the floor last night after a 6-day layoff, but couldn't contain Wembanyama and the Spurs.
Castle brings it into the front court, and the Lakers are going to go down to the Spurs for the first time this season. 126-102 is the final score.
It's a new edition of Lakers Talk with Andy Kamenetsky.
It was an emotional night for Lakers fans as they returned to Crypto.com. But AD and the Lake Show hope to give them a win tomorrow night versus the Heat.
We were eager to play basketball again in front of our fans. It sucks that we weren't able to get the win. Now we just put in, Coop's jersey retirement, but, definitely tough situation in LA, and, we appreciate everyone's, support.
Lakers Talk is presented by Hoag Orthopedic Institute. When pain keeps you from doing what you love, Hoag Orthopedic Institute gets you back to you. Visit HoagOrthopedicInstitute.com to get the help you need today.
Lakers Talk is on. Here's Andy Kamenetsky.
What is up, Lakers fans? This is Lakers Talk. Andy Kamenetsky, ESPN LA 710. As always, thank you all very much for being here with all of, as we talk about a lot, the time changes. The Lakers are playing more Monday night games. I've covered this team now for close to 20 years. I do not remember them ever playing this many Monday nights, which has meant that we have often moved from our typical 6 to 8 p.m. time slot. But I appreciate, as always, everybody rolling with the punches. Obviously, also very much appreciate and thinking about everybody listening right now as you are dealing with the tragedy of the fires throughout Los Angeles. It is impossible to, at minimum, not know somebody who has been affected by this, everywhere from the Palisades to Altadena, just so spread out, and it's incredibly difficult. Best thoughts and wishes to everybody affected by this, still affected. If it's an active situation, it has touched the Lakers specifically. J.J. Redick lost the house that he and his family recently moved into. I believe Anthony Davis had to evacuate for a little while. Lakers staffers have lost property. It's an incredibly stressful, emotional situation, and I hope that for the next hour from 6 to 7 today, short show today, I can be at least a little part of providing a nice distraction for the listeners right now for Los Angeles as we all go through this very difficult time together. Last night, the Lakers did play, and it was not a good showing for the Lakers. They resume after 2 games postponed because of the fires. They lose 126-102 to the San Antonio Spurs, their third straight loss, the second consecutive loss by 20-plus points. And acknowledging from the get-go the context of playing with the backdrop of this situation with these fires, I understand why this would be a difficult situation for the players, for J.J. Redick, for the franchise. It's happening also on a night that was supposed to be in theory a win, but also the celebration of Michael Cooper, who had his jersey retired. Number 21 is now in the rafters with so many Laker greats, so many members of Showtime. And there was a quote from Michael Cooper where he said, "This is a bittersweet moment after the week we've had, but we're Angelinos and we're going to build back better." And we'll talk more about Michael Cooper over the course of this hour, because I don't want what was supposed to be an incredible moment, and was for Michael Cooper, supposed to be part of a bigger celebration, to be lost, because that was definitely the highlight of last night. But there felt like an extra poignancy hearing that from Cooper, just because he is an LA native and he grew up in Pasadena. So when he talks about Angelinos building back stronger, he knows what it means to be an Angelino, and this is not just his city, LA, because he played for the Lakers. This is his city, period. Like I mentioned before, I have empathy for what the Lakers were going through last night, and so it's clear I was not in the arena last night. I was not in the locker room. I don't have a feel for the collective vibe and mood of the team, given everything that was happening. And these are good people in the locker room. You would have to be an incredibly unfeeling person not to be caught up on this on some level. But at the same time, I want to caution from offering up this tragedy going on right now as the quote-unquote reason the Lakers performed so badly last night, or to even dip a toe into that water. First, because without truly knowing one way or the other, it could potentially cheapen the trauma that is undoubtedly being experienced by thousands, maybe even millions of people across the city directly touched by this. But I also don't really use this as a shield for what happened last night, because frankly, it's an extension of a lot that's been going wrong for the Lakers lately anyway. Like what we've seen during this losing streak specifically, but at times throughout at large, talking about turnovers, talking about unforced errors, bad idea passes, carelessness, careless handling of the ball, casual placement of the ball, all these different ways that you can turn the ball over. The Lakers found 19 ways to do it, and San Antonio turned that into 25 points. And this is a team that cannot afford to be put in transition defensively anyway. So that was, by the way, really the point where the Lakers fell apart last night. They had been up 10 points against San Antonio with 2 minutes and 43 seconds left in the third quarter. They turned the ball over 4 times in that 2 minutes and 43 seconds, which is, I think DeAndre will agree, Funchie will agree, that's really hard to do. It is hard to turn the ball over 4 times in less than 3 minutes, considering both teams get possessions.
If you're just handing the ball away.
Yeah, I mean, like that is not easy to do. The offense has grown stagnant. It's grown more predictable. It's grown more unbalanced. It is missing a center, like a centering force, literally and figuratively, and I'm going to get into more of that over the next hour. And we've also seen it happen last night against the Spurs in the second half, and we've seen it throughout the course of this season. Inconsistent focus with these Lakers, inconsistent urgency, inconsistent commitment to the details and going through the steps, like a dedication of process on both sides of the ball. And again, the 2 minutes and 43 seconds, you turn the ball over 4 times. The Lakers end that quarter tied 89 apiece going into the fourth. And then they got outscored 37-13. And we saw another thing that we've seen, unfortunately, a lot with these Lakers over the course of the season, what feels like them not up for the fight. Like where they get hit a few times and they don't hit back. Like they just seemingly concede the night. And, I also couldn't help but think about how this game took place on the same night where the Rams went to Arizona to play their playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings. They had been told they needed to move this game. It was not going to be safe to have it. It particularly wasn't going to be safe to have it at that type of scale. Rams games, you're talking about 100,000 people there between fans, the players, police presence, team presence, first responders, people who work in the building. Like it's a lot of people there. And the Rams ended up having to move. And Sean McVay, heading into this, had talked about how they saw this not like as just an opportunity to do something for the city at this really bad time, but frankly like a responsibility. And they played an incredible game last night against the Vikings. And they gave, I think, the city something to be happy about. They gave Los Angeles something to rally about. And the Lakers, I think, had the same opportunity last night, to say nothing of, I think, the opportunity and responsibility to honor Michael Cooper and the franchise history that came before them. And they didn't meet this moment. And I want to make it clear, I'm not talking about just winning the game. I'm not saying that they didn't meet this moment because they lost. Because I'm not talking about this from a results basis. Sometimes you play a good game and you lose. Sometimes you play the game the right way and you still lose. Sometimes you don't even play well, but you play in a way that reflects wanting to be out there and a sense of urgency and dedication. And in this particular case, like a recognition of the moment. And losing to these Spurs in and of itself isn't the problem. Like, Victor Wembanyama is a monster. Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes have been the exact veteran additions that San Antonio thought they were bringing in to help this young team. Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle, like, these are really good young emerging players. Like, there is no shame in losing to this team. Again, particularly acknowledging the context. But at the same time, though, there's still a moment that you can attempt to meet. And it just felt like the team was not up for the moment, whether you're talking about larger, what ultimately matters more happening in this city, or if you even want to remove that context at all, just the moment of competing in a game that the Lakers need to win, because they're right now in a January stretch where they need to stack a lot of games. They're on a long homestand, and February, and then particularly after the All-Star break, is really difficult. So this was a game that the Lakers needed. They needed to win, but at the very least, what they needed to do is show up and I think really go out there with the requisite urgency. And in this 126-102 loss to the Spurs, it just felt like a lot of what we've seen over the last few games that is backsliding for this team continuing. And that's something we're going to get into coming up next. Specifically, we're going to start on the defensive side of the ball. So also want to let people know whether you're heading to the stadium to cheer on the Lakers or watch a game at friend's house, commit to the Go Safely plan. If you plan to drink, plan ahead. Leave the keys behind. Get a sober, designated driver. If you still need a sober ride home, you've got options. Use public transit or a ride-hailing service and stick to the game plan. Whatever you do, don't let yourself or your friends land a technical foul by driving impaired. Even the slightest impairment can hinder your ability to drive safely. Celebrate a sober ride home. It's always a win. Friends do not let themselves drive drunk. Go Safely California from the California Office of Traffic Safety and Caltrans. It's Lakers Talk. Andy Kamenetsky, ESPN LA 710.
Travis Rogers and DeMarco Farr.
Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. after Greeny.
I'd never met Michael Cooper, and he was the co-host of the show with Rob Fukuzaki, and they bring me on for the segment. And as I'm walking to go onto the set, Michael Cooper starts breaking my chops about Arcadia High School. Keep in mind, I've never met him, spoken to him, nothing. He's like, oh, Apache in the house. Man, we used to kill you guys. And I'm like, wait, and I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, that's right. He went to Pasadena High School. He's a PHS Bulldog, Arcadia High, Pasadena High, in the same league. And so instantly he's giving, I'm like, well, yeah, because in basketball, you had guys like you at PHS, and our basketball team had guys like me at Arcadia High. In baseball, we had a much better, and so we were going back and forth. But it was a great moment. Like, no wonder everybody loves this guy.
Weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
It's Travis and DeMarco
on 710 ESPN.
Hey, it's Mace. As LA deals with tragedy, our friend Jacob Imrani has a special message for you.
The recent devastating wildfires have changed many lives already, but no one should have to face the aftermath alone. I'm Jacob Imrani, and my team is here to help. Don't let insurance companies make you feel powerless and take advantage of you as you try to put your lives together. Let us stand up for you. We'll handle the claim process and fight for what you're entitled to. Call today for guidance you can trust.
Call Jacob.
Just like the Lakers have a game plan on the court, you should have a Go Safely game plan off the court. If you plan to drink, plan for a designated sober driver. If you're the designated sober driver, move over a lane when you see amber flashing lights on Caltrans, law enforcement, or other emergency vehicles or tow trucks. If you can't move over safely, slow down and be work zone alert. Go Safely California from the California Office of Traffic Safety and Caltrans.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it. Did you know that 1 in 4 people seeking treatment for ED are under 40? So you're not alone. And even better, Hims can help. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs at up to 95% less than the brand names when you get started at hims.com/joy. It all starts with an online intake form. From there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. Through hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
All the latest surrounding the Lake Show, right here on Lakers Talk with Andy Kamenetsky.
Although the Lakers couldn't give the fans a win last night, it was very important for AD and the squad to get back on the floor.
I said we're just trying to get through it and feel good to be on the floor and just kind of bring joy back to everyone who was here and kind of get away from it for 2.5 hours. And but the fight isn't over. We still have a lot to do. Trying to do my part as far as helping families and communities who've been affected.
Lakers Talk is presented by Hoag Orthopedic Institute. When pain keeps you from doing what you love, Hoag Orthopedic Institute gets you back to you. Visit HoagOrthopedicInstitute.com to get the help you need today.
Now back to Lakers Talk with Andy Kamenetsky.
Felt like they left everything in El Segundo.
This would be the sample.
This is a sample.
This is a very good song. I just found this out about this song over the weekend.
This is obviously the sample for Left My Wallet in El Segundo.
Yes, sir.
Tribe Called Quest, their debut album. Andy Kamenetsky, Lakers Talk, ESPN LA, 710. Joined by Funchy, joined by DeAndre. Who is this? I don't know who this is.
This is the Chamber Brothers.
Oh my, the Chamber Brothers?
Yes. Like not Tom Chambers, but the Chamber Brothers.
Tom Chambers. Yeah, the Chamber Brothers. The time has come today.
Yeah, that song.
I had no idea that this was them. I want to just wake up one day and have one of those massive crate collections of records.
Yeah, me too.
Like where you just wake up and all of that's there, and you hear guys like Dr. Dre talk about how that was his library, and that was the place where he learned everything he needed to know, about how to create the music that he wanted, all of his inspiration. This is something that I actually think the youths or people like DeAndre's age who never grew up around a record store, the physical action of sifting through albums and just going through all of them, the aisle after aisle. I think it matters.
I've been to stores, stuff like that.
I don't know about no record store. You know about no Tower Records.
No, I've been to stores and stuff like that, but as far as purchasing and actually following through with it, no, I never done it.
Would you know how to put an album on a turntable and play it?
I have, yeah. I've done it for you.
Have you messed with a cassette tape?
I have messed with a cassette tape.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I used to well, we at the time when we were younger, me and my cousin, we used to burn CDs and make our own music and stuff. So yeah, we used to have a CD player. And all
I saw this meme that was, and then we'll obviously get to last night's loss, 126-102. The Lakers against the Spurs are on a 3-game losing streak, 2 consecutive games, 20+ point losses. But I saw this meme that said something to the effect of the reason Gen X is angry is because they had to replace all of their albums with cassettes, then all their cassettes with CDs, then burn all of the stuff they used to have CDs onto, LimeWire or something digital, and then now it's all on Spotify. You've just spent decades recollecting the same music over and over. And all the process, all the time, all the money. That's why we're mad.
I can see it.
I can see angry. Laker fans angry. Last night the Lakers lose 126-102. And J.J. Redick spoke afterwards about there being defensive slippage with this team right now.
Yeah, there's
what
a lot.
What needs to happen to sort of counteract?
Well, there were a lot, particularly in the second half, of middle drives, whether that was after a red or after a closeout. And, there's some teams that are okay with the ball going middle. We're not a let the ball go middle team. And again, I didn't feel like we really had a low man presence. I think Mitch and his staff did a good job based on the last game where we were Reading, and they really tried to take advantage of that with pulling our low man in when we did pull in. If Wemby was in the paint, and they just skip it to the corner, and then you're either giving up a three or we just weren't good in our closeouts tonight.
Okay, I can tell you at least one reason that they have been missing this low man presence is, and I think this also gets back to, Redick had said that there had been 3 games straight now with, as he put it, real slippage defensively. This is now 3 games in a row where the Lakers have started falling back onto that early approach they had in the season where everything was automatically switched defensively, 1 through 5, no questions asked, no real resistance, no physicality at the screen, like no eventual recovery back to a better defensive assignment. Like I've described it before, it's almost felt like coordinated dance choreography where you're working not to actually bump up against your dance partner. In this particular case, we're talking about the opposing offense. And that is how the Lakers were defending at the beginning of the season. I didn't like it. Remember, DeAndre and I, we've bitched about this over the course of the season. You didn't like it either. Then over the last, there had been about a 10-game stretch where they got away from it. Defense all of a sudden became something that felt like could actually be weaponized for this team. Last few games, they've been falling back to the automatic switching everything. I don't like it any better the second time around, DeAndre.
No, and especially when you give up 66 points in the paint. 66 points in the paint. That just says it right there.
Well, in part, you're pulling Anthony Davis willingly away from the basket.
The rim.
You're often setting him up to go further away from the basket, and it continually left the Lakers vulnerable for dunks, for offensive rebounds, second chance points, even just layups. The guys who are supposed to be low men were not fulfilling their responsibility. They're not rotating over. It also, too, you're having offenses dictate the actual matchup that they want because they know everything's going to be conceded for them. Like, they're not even having to work to get what they want.
No, especially you mentioned they're switching everything, and then obviously the Spurs, they see it. They're like, oh, Lakers are switching everything. Okay, that's fine. Harrison Barnes is going to go mid-post every single time.
Chris Paul was like a conductor with an orchestra and just signaling, okay, you're about to play, flute player Harrison Barnes. This is your solo up against Austin Reeves, like Devin Vassell, trumpet player. Now your time to play. Like he was just conducting everywhere was they were going to go. And it was just, it's too easy the way the Lakers do it. And this gets to the biggest reason I hate it. This is a group that if you were trying to run this sort of thing, and I get why in theory JJ would like it, because there are times when you have guys just in terms of pure size and prototype could be the right guys to do this. But it requires a high degree of motor. It requires a high degree of intensity and intentionality and purpose. And we've seen that this group, it's not how they're naturally wired as a collective. I'm not saying they don't care. I'm not saying they don't want to win. I'm just saying they're not wired to be intense like that. They're not wired to be high motor like that. So in a lot of ways, when you're just switching with that type of ease, I feel like you're playing into the worst parts of their collective personality. You're actually enabling the things that make them worse defensively, just from like a mentality standpoint.
Yeah, and if you are going to switch, say if the Lakers did want to switch, if you are going to switch, you're always taught switch with a purpose. I mean, you're going to switch, bump the guy, make it difficult for him to get to the basket, have a little bit of resistance. Don't let him get 2 feet in the paint. And there's, like you said it, like if you're going to switch, at least be competitive about it. Like make it difficult for them to get a shot off. Let them use that whole 24-second shot clock. That's a good defensive possession was when they have to use up the whole shot clock just to get a good shot. We don't see that often.
Well, but here's the problem, too. Even the times last night against the Spurs, and this was particularly bad in the second half, when the Lakers were sometimes having good defensive possessions because of, I think in a lot of ways, this switching approach, they were leaving themselves vulnerable for offensive rebounds that San Antonio would grab, and then they'd get these second chance points, and you end up wasting all of the work that you did because in a lot of ways guys are out of natural position or like an advantageous position to begin with.
And then when that happens, they get relaxed. They relax. They're getting comfortable. And then everyone's ball watching at that point in time because what do? They expect Anthony Davis to get the rebound. But when you say when he's not in the paint to get rebounds, he's out there guarding the perimeter. I don't know why we need him to switch on to Chris Paul. There's no need to make his shot difficult. Obviously, it leaves vulnerability for the Spurs and other teams that get more offensive rebounds and second chance points.
Yeah, I mean, look, can Anthony Davis occasionally end up in a situation like that on Chris Paul and make it work? Sure. Like, he can do that occasionally, and you can mess with Chris Paul's rhythm doing it occasionally. But Chris Paul is too good not to eventually figure that out. In the meantime, all these other guys are all in a lot of ways out of defensive position from a matchup standpoint or from a rebounding standpoint. They have got to get away from this thing, like particularly the 1 through 5. Like it simply is not working. Even if it makes sense as a theoretical, as an actuality, it's not working at all.
Yeah, I mean, teams are starting to figure out. They're starting to exploit the mismatch.
Ain't much to figure out.
It's not exactly. There's not much to figure out, especially when they're going to attack the weaker link. And obviously, it was shown last night. Austin Reeves was a weaker link on the defensive end for that rotation. But that's the issue. Like you can't have a weak link, especially how this team is built right now. They obviously try to address the issue by bringing in Finney Smith, but we know his minutes have been up and down. He plays 20 minutes here, and then he's not playing that much. And then they're trying to figure out the rotation with him. So you don't have that defensive presence, let alone with him when he's bouncing around the lineup in his minutes. And then you expect Cam Reddish, but when you throw all those guys you want to play defense, then you're exerting all that on the other end, and you don't have no offense.
Okay, glad you went there, DeAndre, because. Coming up next, I want to talk about DFS, I want to talk about Rui, and I want to talk about the entire offense right now that in a lot of ways, just like the defense, leads right back to Anthony Davis. Talk about that coming up next. Also, reminder, when you are heading to the stadium to cheer on the Lakers or going to watch the game at a friend's house, commit to the Go Safely game plan. If you plan to drink, plan ahead. Leave the keys behind. Get a sober, designated driver. You still need a sober ride home. You have options. Use public transit or a ride-hailing service. Stick to the game plan. Whatever you do, don't let yourself or your friends land a technical foul by driving impaired. Even the slightest impairment can hinder your ability to drive safely. Celebrate a sober ride home. It's always a win. Friends, do not let friends drive drunk. Go Safely California from the California Office of Traffic Safety, Caltrans. Lakers Talk, ESPN LA 710.
Why do we grill to order at Waba Grill? Because it's just better for you. Our Asian-inspired menu has high-quality proteins that are healthier for you.
Me up and never put me down.
Our steamed vegetables and signature salads are made fresh for you. Our sauces are more flavorful for you. From sweet and spicy to fiery hot. Right now, get our Value Bowl combo for only $8.99. Download the Waba Rewards app or order online at wabagrill.com. Waba Grill, it's for you.
Is your vehicle due for service? Is it time to get those wipers replaced? If so, head into your neighborhood Valvoline Instant Oil Change, home of the 15-minute drive-through oil change. For over 30 years, Valvoline has provided quick and convenient automotive maintenance services for busy people just like you. At Valvoline, you stay in your car safe while the expert technicians make sure your ride is at its best. Oil changes, wiper blades, and more. Just pull up, drive in, and drive out in about 15 minutes. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for locations and game-winning coupons off of your next Valvoline Instant Oil Change.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-687-5192. That's 800-687-5192. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-687-5192.
Travis Rogers and DeMarco Farr.
Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. after Greenie.
I don't think I've told you. I used to be in a bowling league.
You can bowl too.
I a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not a good bowler, but I'm not a terrible bowler.
You're like 9 feet tall. Though.
Yeah.
How do you get down there?
I was okay. I was in the bowling league when I was in my 20s, so this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I have my own ball. Okay?
Nice.
Okay. And I'm okay, or at least I used to be okay. We go bowling. It's me and my 3 children, my wife, and Bobby's girlfriend, Sarah. Okay? So there's 6 of us. And we got the 3 women on one lane, and we got the 3 boys on the second lane. We're right next to each other. So they're competing, we're competing. Bobby won 2 of the 3 in the men's division.
He beat you.
And Michael won the other one.
You got smoked?
I got skunked, DeMarco.
Well done, Dad.
Weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
It's Travis and DeMarco
on 710 ESPN.
This is Lakers Talk with Andy Kamenetsky on 710 ESPN.
The Lakers are on a 3-game losing streak, but Rui Hachimura knows they need to get back on track starting tomorrow versus Miami.
We just got to start playing together again, what we had in December, and get back on our track. We just got it's both hands, offensively, defensively. We're not playing for each other right now, so we gotta stick together and we get back on the track.
It's the home of the Lake Show and the home of Lakers Talk.
Lakers Talk is presented by Hoag Orthopedic Institute. When pain keeps you from doing what you love, Hoag Orthopedic Institute gets you back to you. Visit HoagOrthopedicInstitute.com to get the help you need today.
Back to Andy Kamenetsky.
It's going to bug me. I know this.
Yes, people your age know this.
I know this. First of all, this is the sample that's always reminisce over you.
Yes, when they reminisce over you.
When,
Pete Rock, CL Smooth. Yes,
Yep,
yes,
yep.
yes.
Oh. Who is this? Who is this?
This is the beginning of the end, When She Made Me Promise.
Okay. Yep.
I was telling Punch that beginning part where it sampled, they used that part on a video game I used to play growing up called NBA Street Volume 2.
Man,
I love that game too, DeAndre.
The sampling game, if you got in at the right time, you can just get paid forever. I hope Pete Rock and CL Smooth are getting paid off that.
It's this group that's getting paid off of it.
Well, that's true. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're right. The beginning of the end, whoever the hell they are, they should be getting paid. Andy Kamenetsky, Lakers Talk, ESPN LA, 710. 2 quick reminders. First of all, the Lakers will be at it again tomorrow night. They will be hosting the Jimmy Butler-less Miami Heat. That tip-off is at 7:30, 6 p.m. Pregame coverage begins with Beto Duran. Also, heads up next week, Lakers Talk is going to be on 6 to 8 on Friday, the 24th.
Wow, Friday night Lakers Talk?
Friday
What?
night
There we
Lakers
go.
Talk. Super weird night. So I wanted to start giving everyone advance notice. When I mentioned earlier in the show that we jump around, I was not kidding.
Well, next Monday is the national championship, I believe. The national championship college football playoff.
Right, and the Lakers are playing every other game, every other day.
So Friday, wow,
Right,
Friday
so
night,
Friday,
Lakers Talk.
Friday, the 24th, it'll be the day after the Lakers host the Celtics. So definitely a lot to talk about, so be there. 6 to 8 on the 24th We heard from Rui coming in about the need to get things together on both sides of the ball. We saw bad versions of offense and defense in last night's 126-102 loss to the Spurs. And when the Lakers made the deal for Dorian Finney-Smith, at the time I said, I like it, but the trade-off is you're going to lose some valuable contributions from D'Angelo Russell as a scorer and also as a facilitator. And that is going to be something that is going to require adjustments by J.J. Redick and some problem-solving by J.J. Redick, because for all of D'Lo's inconsistencies and faults and the stuff that has been dissected to death, it's all real. D'Lo, I think, more than even LeBron, more than Austin Reeves, was the best on this team at A, running an offense while looking specifically to involve Anthony Davis, and B, I think just running an offense, period. Like just running an actual offense, like running a system, running action, like putting guys in real places like a point guard. And again, it's going to require some workshopping to figure this out. And bench scoring has been an issue for this team all season, and we're now in a place where the offense is starting to crater as the bench remains a problem. Along these lines, a couple things I've been thinking about. First of all, small fix. I'd like to see J.J. Redick start giving Shake Milton like 10 minutes a night. They need another ball handler out there. Like they need somebody who's a natural ball. I'm not talking about like a point guard facilitator. I know that's not what Shake Milton is, but he is somebody who is an NBA guard. Like he is comfortable handling the ball. I think he's somebody that's going to be, if nothing else, helpful keeping the trains running, so to speak, because right now there is so much on the plate of LeBron and Reeves as facilitators and floor generals, in particular with Reeves. I think it's too much. And, Gabe Vincent is, again, another guy who can maybe grease the wheels a bit, but if he's one of your primary ball handlers, it's a problem. So I think Shake could help a little bit there, and if nothing else, he represents more of a threat to score than Cam Reddish. Like, I think likely minutes for Shake would come largely at the expense of Cam, and it's not even necessarily anything Cam is doing wrong. It's a different lane to fill that really isn't Cam's, but that's something. Bigger picture, this team needs to rediscover its offensive identity by making Anthony Davis, again, the first option, the focal point, the hub, the guy that everything runs through, and that's the way everything was talked about heading into this season. And when the Lakers began the season 10-4, when everybody was really excited about the possibilities and Anthony Davis looked like he could be an MVP candidate, and we started thinking about maybe this team has more upside than we expected. AD had a usage rate of 31.4, the highest on the team. LeBron was at 26.4, which is lower by LeBron standards. Austin Reeves at 21. Since the 10-4 start, when they've gone 10-13, LeBron now has the highest usage rate over that period at 29.5. AD has fallen to 28.4. Reeves is at 23.5. Some of that is a byproduct of D'Lo being gone and other guys picking up the slack, but this was the direction things were heading well before D'Lo was moved, and it's led to an offense that's become much more about high screen and roll, a lot of standing around, a lot of stagnation. Takes forever just to get into the offense. It sometimes takes forever to get the ball up court. And kind of like what I was talking about with the switching defensively, there's a lacking urgency. And I think some of that lacking urgency comes from not running things with purpose, and that begins with Anthony Davis. And it's more than, I think, about just AD. You look at Rui right now. Rui, to me, is an avatar of what has gone to the wayside as AD has become less of a focal point for this offense. Like, during that 10-4 start that I was talking about, Rui was averaging almost 11 shots a game. In January, it's down to 7 shots a game. And that's despite good percentages both from the field and from behind the arc. Like, efficiency is not the problem. They're just not like looking in his direction. They're not utilizing him. There are times when Max Christie is getting more shots than Rui, and that doesn't make sense if you're going to have Rui on the floor at all. Like, if you're going to bother having, frankly, Rui on this roster, you want him scoring. You want him getting scoring opportunities. That's his calling card. Like, Rui is not out there to do the quote-unquote little things. That is not what Rui Hachimura does.
He floats around too much.
Well,
I get it. If you're going to have him in the game, he has to go out there and score. But there's times where if his shot's not falling, he floats around the perimeter, and he becomes a spot-up shooter when that's not really his game. He was having success early on in the season when he was catching at mid-post, ripping through, going to the basket, trying to dunk on guys, and like now we're seeing him go away from that. And that's the frustrating part because he has a great size, he has great skills to be able to create his own shot and get to the basket, and why do you settle so much?
Well, that also, though, DeAndre, gets to why I want to see, I mentioned this last week, say it again, I want to see J.J. Redick flip DFS and Rui and start starting Dorian Finney-Smith, where I think he can add more defensive integrity and I think more energy to start these games. He can do a spot-up role. That's basically what DFS does as a scorer, and he's good at it. And then you move Rui to the bench where he can be more of a focal point that they actually need. Like, they need a designated scorer. Like, the closest thing they have now that D'Lo is in Brooklyn, I guess, is Dalton Connect, and he's not consistent enough. Like, he's not experienced. Like, I like Dalton long term, but he's not consistent enough at this point to be that focal point as an offensive bench player. It's definitely not Gabe Vincent. It's definitely not Cam Reddish. It's definitely not Jackson Hayes. Like, this is the perfect role for Rui at a time where they actually need it. Like, DFS at this point provides more utility with the starters, and Rui provides more utility coming off the bench. So, and also, it's felt like Rui's expecting, like he's going to get benched.
Yeah.
Like, so at this point, man, just rip the Band-Aid.
Yeah. And real quick, you mentioned about, like, you listen to those guys like Cam Reddish, Jackson Hayes, Gabe Vincent. They're not going to go out there and create scoring opportunities, right? The Spurs, when, like, you got guys called the bench for them, like Keldon Johnson.
Yes.
And, like, just a quick comparison. You got, like, Stephon Castle. You know, there's times he does start, there's times he does come off the bench. But when they come in, they're at least providing scoring. And, like, they go in there and they're trying to create their own shot. They're aggressive getting to the basket, creating other shots for others.
Right.
And we don't see that when the bench comes in for the Lakers.
Rui would get so many more looks off the bench because they're going to need him to actually do that. When he's with the starters, they don't need him to score as much. And as a result, he ends up not doing that much, period. And look, I'm not trying to take away from the stuff Rui should be doing while he's out there. I'm not saying it's okay to abdicate responsibilities. I'm just saying this is who the guy is. And if you are playing away from his strengths and giving him a role that is more about his weaknesses, I don't know what you're expecting to happen. Like, it makes no sense, again, to have Rui even on this roster, much less on the court, if you're not looking to utilize him as a scorer. So, again, that is something that I hope maybe we see tomorrow night against Miami. Coming up next, a little crunch time, and also we're going to talk about Michael Cooper getting his jersey retired last night. Easily the highlight of the game against San Antonio last night. Really awesome moment for Coop and the Lakers. So that's coming up next. Lakers Talk, Andy Kamenetsky, ESPN LA 710.
Travis Rogers and DeMarco Farr.
Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. after Greeny.
I'd never met Michael Cooper, and he was the co-host of the show with Rob Fukuzaki, and they bring me on for the segment. And as I'm walking to go onto the set, Michael Cooper starts breaking my chops about Arcadia High School. Keep in mind, I've never met him, spoken to him, nothing. He's like, oh, Apache in the house. I mean, we used to kill you guys. And I'm like, wait, and I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, that's right. He went to Pasadena High School. He's a PHS Bulldog, Arcadia High, Pasadena High, in the same league. And so instantly I'm like, well, yeah, because in basketball, you had guys like you at PHS, and our basketball team had guys like me at Arcadia High. In baseball, we had a much better, and so we were going back and forth. But it was a great moment. Like, no wonder everybody loves this guy.
Weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
It's Travis and DeMarco
on 710 ESPN.
Just like the Lakers have a game plan on the court, you should have a go safely game plan off the court. If you plan to drink, plan for a designated sober driver. If you're the designated sober driver, move over a lane when you see amber flashing lights on Caltrans, law enforcement, or other emergency vehicles or tow trucks. If you can't move over safely, slow down and be work zone alert. Go Safely California from the California Office of Traffic Safety and Caltrans.
You never expect a Hail Mary pass to win and end the game or getting into an accident. Hey, it's Trav with DeMarco.
Only one all-star defense team you can call to defend you. The personal injury law offices of Joseph S. Normand. Visit normandlegal.com or call 213-747-2000.
Don't get sacked by others. Joseph will help you achieve the maximum compensation you deserve. Visit normandlegal.com or call 213-747-2000. That's 213-747-2000.
Let Joseph and his team score a touchdown for you.
Good Karma Brands is proud to be an equal opportunity employer. Our policy is to provide equal opportunity employment, development, and advancement to all current and potential teammates. If you are an organization that maintains a job bank, provides employment information, or gives job referrals, you may request to be placed on the station's mailing list for future career opportunities. To learn more about careers at Good Karma Brands, please email careers@goodkarmabrands.com.
Accident or injury, call Jacob and Ronnie. Call Jacob.
Hey guys, what's up? It's George Sedano. Waiting is never fun. Usually nothing good happens when you wait. My friend Jacob in the law offices of Jacob and Ronnie want to make sure you don't wait after an accident. Immediately after an accident, before talking to the insurance company, call Jacob, man. Jacob and his team will do all the work, make all the phone calls, handle the paperwork, set up the doctor's appointments, whatever the case may be. And when you speak to the insurance company first, it's a big mistake. Because you know why? They may later use your words against you. However, Jacob and his team, they'll guide you through the process, get you the compensation you deserve, and you don't have to pay Jacob unless he wins. Nothing out of pocket. Free. Gratis. So if you're injured in an accident, the first name, the first thought, the first call should be Jacob. Jacob, Jacob, Jacob. The consultation is free. That's right. Free. I told you. Gratis. Don't wait. Call Jacob 24 hours a day at 844-24-JACOB. That's 844-24-JACOB. Call him 844-24-JACOB or visit him online at calljacob.com.
Call Jacob.
It's crunch time on Lakers Talk.
When the clock is ticking and it's all coming down to the wire, you know what that means.
This is crunch time.
All right, as always, we close things out with Crunch Time. Short show today, just 1 hour, 6 to 7. A reminder, we are going to be back next week, Friday night, the super rare, even with all these migrations.
Friday edition
of Lakers Talk. That's going to be a 2-hour show. That's going to be 6 to 8. Also a reminder that tomorrow the Lakers will be taking on the Miami Heat. I believe Jimmy Butler will still be suspended at that point. 7:30 tip-off. 6 p.m. pregame with Beto Duran. What you got, Funchy?
One of my new favorite, he's not been new, but one of my new favorite players, Jalen Williams from OKC.
So good, man.
Yeah, so good. He was on a podcast when he said the NBA should give out 2 defensive player of the year awards each year if they continue awarding it to big man. He said, I feel like it's just based on blocks. I believe he's right because we always have a big man. We always have a power forward, a center that win the defensive player of the year. We rarely get like a guy. Ron Artest won it one year. Kawhi won it one year. Also, I want to say Gary Payton won it one year. Like, we rarely get those type of guys winning defensive players of the year. And I like when those guys win.
Okay, put a pin in that because I actually have the full list of players that you're talking about.
Great.
I disagree with Jalen Williams in the sense of 2 defensive player of the year awards just because it's not going to happen.
1 East and 1 West, maybe. Come on.
It's going to be 2 big men. That's all that's going to happen. It's
Rudy Gobert and, it's gonna be Victor all the time.
Yeah, it's going to be double the big men every single year. He is 100% correct, though, that it is almost exclusively a big man award. It's the equivalent of the way the MVP in the NFL is a quarterback's award for the most part.
I hate that. And they have a quarterback award, too, which is stupid. They have an MVP award and a quarterback award. So stupid. Go ahead.
But, yeah, Jalen Williams isn't wrong. And look, I'm sure in some ways this is important to him because he is growing as a defender and maybe could be somebody who finds himself, the all-defense team, maybe in that conversation and thinking it's nice to be mentioned. I'm never actually going to win the thing because they always give it to a big man. Case in point, last night, Michael Cooper, who recently made the Hall of Fame, and once you make the Hall of Fame, you are eligible to have your jersey retired by the Lakers. That is the standard. If you do not have a Hall of Fame entry, a Hall of Fame jacket, you are not going up in the rafters. Coop had his number 21 retired last night. 5-time champ with the Lakers, played his entire career with the Lakers. 8 times all defense, 8 straight. 5.
Wow.
5.
Did not realize that.
5 first team. 1987 Defensive Player of the Year. 5 times in the top 5 for voting. Also multiple time top 5 for 6th Man of the Year. And you mentioned how this is primarily a big man award. This is the list of non-power forwards or centers who've won Defensive Player of the Year since the award was given out in the 1982-83 season. Sidney Moncrief twice, Alvin Robertson,
guard,
MJ,
guard,
Dennis Rodman, who at the time was like a small forward.
Yeah, small
with the Pistons.
forward. Yeah,
this is 2 times with the Bad Boy Pistons. Gary Payton,
guard,
Meta World Peace,
guard.
Kawhi. Yeah, he's a guard. I mean, Meta.
Guardish.
Meta's
forward,
like a small
forward. Yes.
Small forward. Kawhi Leonard,
small forward,
twice.
Okay, small forward.
Michael Cooper,
small forward.
That's your list. 11 total occasions in like 40+ seasons of that award being given out.
Discrimination right there.
Let me peel back the layers even further, just to let you know how good of a defender you had to be as Michael Cooper, winning this award, getting yourself into the Hall of Fame based on your defense. He made 8 all-defense teams and 1 Defensive Player of the Year, starting 11% of his games.
I'm sorry,
in his
11%?
11% of his games. Do you know how incredible a defender you have to be to get those type of defensive accolades and recognitions? Also, by the way, he was listed at 170 pounds.
That's being generous too.
170 pounds to all NBA defense 8 times and Defensive Player of the Year as a bench player at 170.
I don't think we're ever going to see that again, a bench player winning Defensive Player of the Year.
But that to me is why Coop is and should be the exception that proves the rule when it comes to non-stars or guys who would be considered role players getting into the Hall of Fame when he doesn't have the type of numbers. Sometimes you are so great at the thing that you do that you are the exception to the rule. And I also feel like if we want to tell players all the time, you need to sacrifice at times. Sometimes you have to think beyond your numbers. You don't want to penalize guys who actually did it. Like the idea that Michael Cooper couldn't have started in the league is absurd. Like, he was often behind guys like Norm Nixon or Byron Scott.
Magic Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, these are really, really good players. The ceremony last night for Coop was awesome with Riles and Magic serving as the MC.
Awesome seeing Riles in person, too. Starstruck.
Michael Thompson talks all the time about it. He's still scared of Riles. Riles is almost 80. Riles still scares the bleep out of him. If Riles told him to go run sprints, Michael, even with that bad hip, he'd do it.
And he did when the Lakers had that practice in Hawaii like a couple years ago.
Well, I'm glad, too, that you brought up that Showtime reunion because last night was something of a Showtime reunion as well because, Riles and Magic emceeing, you had down on the court Worthy and Scott and Jamal Wilkes and Norm Nixon, AC Green.
Vlade
was there. Lisa Leslie was there, repping how Coop was
Sparks.
her coach for the Sparks, where he's a champion as well. I actually tweeted out during the game at Cam Brothers, screw it. Break the franchise's rules and put Byron's jersey in the rafters next. Like these,
I'd agree with that.
These Showtime reunions are just delightful. They're awesome. Like that group is so tight and so connected. It's awesome seeing them get together. It's also, too, it's crazy. Any other franchise with the type of career and championships that he had there and the amount of years he played there, Byron Scott is a no-brainer to have his jersey retired. Like anywhere else. But
you put in some good years in Indiana too after you left the Lakers.
But yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
there a couple seasons.
Yeah.
I think he actually spent a year in Vancouver too.
I think before Indiana, I want to say.
But like anywhere else, Byron Scott is a no-brainer jersey retired. But the standards are so high for the Lakers, and they still have all those jerseys up there anyway, even with that standard. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But again, congratulations to Michael Cooper. If you've ever met Coop, he's awesome. He's hilarious. He is a total smartass. Like the first time I ever met him, he's like busting my cojones. I never met the guy before. Like he's like doing this upon being introduced to me. He's like basically the Don Rickles of NBA players. Like Travis Rogers told the story about that a couple days ago. Like the first time they ever worked together, he immediately starts going at Travis. He's like, I never met you before. But that's his personality. He's really funny. You can see how much his teammates truly love him. He's a Laker lifer. You know, he is truly a part of this city. You know, he's from L.A., grew up in Pasadena. So, like, it was awesome to see him have that night. I wish the team itself last night against the Spurs had been up to the task of truly honoring him. They will be back on the court tomorrow against the Miami Heat, 7:30 tip. Pregame coverage begins with Beto Duran at 6 o'clock. This has been Lakers Talk. Again, short edition. Appreciate you, DeAndre. Appreciate you, Funchy. Coming up next, we're going to hear a little USC men's basketball versus Iowa. This has been Lakers Talk. Andy Kamenetsky, ESPN LA 7.